This is under linear transformation. So here, the idea of a transformation is that if you want to determine the image, so this is the definition, the formulas that you use to determine the image of a given point using the transformation or using the matrix as well, the transformation. So the idea to this scenario is that if you have any raw item, right? So raw, if you are a fan of what a food or maybe you're a foodie in some cases, if you have a raw item, right? So let's say you have a raw item here, and then before you can prepare this thing, you need to add heat, right? So you need to add heat to that to have your finish or maybe the food raw food ready food. Is that okay? So the raw item plus or the heat will give us the food that you want to use. So if you convert that to mathematics, what it means here is that the heat will be the matrix, right? So the linear transfer. This is, the heat is transforming. So this is the transformation, and then the point will be our raw what? The raw item. Is that okay? So the point will be our raw item, and then the food here is the image that will make ready. Are you getting the point? So this is just a simple scenario to understand the method here. Here we are going to use the matrix or the inverse matrix, right? So inverse matrix as well, the linear transformation. If you are someone who follow us or you've subscribed to the channel, you know that you've already used the matrix, not the inverse one in the previous video. You may consider watching that. Or I'll leave a description, the link to that video in the description box below. Now let's have a look at the question. So as I said in the first part, you know that this to get an image, you have to have the matrix, the transformer, right? The heat transformer or the transformation by a certain vector or matrix, and then multiply by what the points to give us the image. This is what we know for at as I thought this point, and then we are giving that n is equal to this matrix. This is a 2 by 2 matrix, so 3 negative 5 and then 5 for negative 5 for 3 negative 5 and then 4 2, right? So this is the matrix that we are having together with the point of 1 negative 1. Is that okay? So these are the two things that we are having. Now they say we should uh, the question they're asking us to find is that we should determine the image of the point, right? So we should determine the image of this point under the transformation of what, or maybe under the inverse transformation of what, this matrix. Is that okay? So it's our duty to know the inverse transformation of this matrix, and then we apply this definition to that, right? So once you know the transformation, that is the inverse one of what, this given function or maybe this given what matrix together with the point, you can easily determine what the image. So the only work that we are going to do here is to find the inverse of this matrix as well. The transformation. Is that okay? Now, how do you determine the inverse? That was one thing. So for you to have the inverse of what, a 2 by 3 or almost any matrix, what I have to do here is that you use this method, right? So this is what you have to use. So the inverse matrix is 1 over determinant of what, n, or the matrix being given to you multiplied by the adjoint. And I'll explain this in just a few seconds. Is that okay? Once again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You have a link to all this video on our channel. Okay, now using this thing, the meaning of the determinant of what 2 by 2 matrix is that for you to have the determinant, what it means is that you are going to multiply this guy by this guy, right? So 3 multiplied by 2, that should be equal to 6, right? So 6 and then minus what, whatever you are going to have here. So this guy also multiplied by that. So negative 5 multiplied by 4 will give us negative 4. Negative 20. Is that okay? So the answer to this thing will give us 26, right? So this is what we call the determinant. So this is what a 2 by 2 matrix is. You have a way of solving the 3 by 3. Once again, check what our videos on what on the channel. So don't forget to subscribe once again. Okay. Now, this is just a determinant. So out of this definition, so this is the tool that we are going to use to determine the inverse of this matrix, right? So we have the determinant of the n, which is 26, and then we are left to find what the adjoint. So here we are going to have the determinant that is equal to 26 here. Okay, so this is just a short notation for a determinant. So we have our 26 here, and then the adjoint. So the meaning of the adjoint here is that for the 2 by 2 matrices, this is what we are calling 2 by 2, right? So 2 rows and then what, 2 columns. Okay, for you to have the adjoint, you are going to swap these two people. So let's change our position, right? So let this guy comes here and then this guy also goes here. So that is the first step. So getting the adjoint here, you have So we are going to swap. So here becomes what? Here becomes 2, and then here becomes 3. Okay, what about the second part? So the second part of this matrix here is going to be, we are going to take a negative of these two sides, right? So we are going to take a negative of these two. We are not going to swap this one. The first step is to assign these two people. And then the second one is to take a negative of this two. So this guy is already a negative, so it becomes a positive, and then here tends to be a negative, right? So that's what a very, very simple method here. So here we are going to have a negative, negative 5 give us what? A positive 5 here, and then downward tends to be what? A negative 4. This is the lay down procedure which has already been proved. So the name of what I've just done here is what we call the agent of 2 by 2 matrices, right? Okay, now that we have the agent and then as well as the determinants, you are free to go to find the inverse of what the matrix being given to us, right? So that's very, very simple. Just so let's just replace and plug in, right? Okay, so here we are going to have what the inverse of these two people. That should be what? 26. So over 1 over 26, and then multiply by the agent. So the agent is 2, 5, negative 4, and then 3. Is that okay? So this is what a very simple. So you just need to do this calculation and then move on. So the way of doing this thing is to have this 1 over 26 multiply by 2, 2 over what? Multiply by 2, that will give us 2 over 26 for the first part, right? So 2 over 26, and then this 1 over 26 multiply by everything here. Is that okay? So multiply by everything here. We are also going to have that is 5 over 26, and then down we are going to have negative 4, negative 4 over 26, and then at the second part we are going to have 3 over 26. So this thing here, you can easily reduce it, right? So let's reduce this matrix to the to the simplest form. So let's reduce this matrix to the simplest form. What the question is asking us to do is to find the image, right? So using the inverse, so the transformation. So together with the point 1 and then negative 4. So this is the definition that we know. We know that the image, for us to get the image, you are going to have the matrix multiplied by the point. So if you break down that matrix, you are going to have 1 over 3, and then 5 over 26, and then 2 over 30, and then 3 over 26. So multiply by what? The point. So we are going according to this definition, right? So matrix here, and then multiply by the point. So this is how you have to multiply. If you know how to multiply this thing, then you are free to go. Is that okay? So how do you? So the idea here, what I normally use is just like maybe some 7. So someone will call it a 7, right? So this is what I used to remember. What it means is that everything on this line multiply by everything down here. Is that okay? So everything here multiply by whatever. So here you have the number here and the number here, and then multiply. And then let's see how to multiply. So you have 1 over 3 multiplied by 1. That will give us 1 over 3 for the first part. Is that okay? And then plus this one, that is 5 over 26 multiplied by what? Negative 1. So here you are going to have a negative 5 over 26. Okay, the same thing applies to the down one. So negative 2 over 30 multiplied by the top one here. That will give us a negative 2 over 30, and then plus we have 3 over 26, and then multiply by what? Negative 1. So we have 3 over 26. Okay, so if you combine these two people, you're going to have 1 over 1 over 3 minus what? 5 over 26, and then you have a negative 2 over 13 minus what? 3 over 26. So just do the subtraction. So if you have the subtraction, if you do it very nicely, and then you should have your answer to be negative 3 over 26, and then over 7 over 26. Right? So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any issue. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this.